Hey there, welcome to the Coffee Solo audio program on February 7th, 2026. It's Saturday evening. The time is 8:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and this is episode 2026. If I could type that correctly, 020701. I did come up with the title at the last moment. Bilt sucks a lot. If you're not familiar with Bilt rewards, I'm not a fan. It's been what, 6 days, I think. I'm trying to record more frequently these episodes. I think I should spend more time kind of updates on what's going on rather than the audio essays. I mean, I spend the time on the audio essays, that's fine, but I'm not getting the mind moving, which was part of the goal of this audio program. So got to fix that. Anyway, hopefully wherever you found this audio program, you can find the episode description, which contains the show notes, the summary, which I'll read, and a couple of links. There's a link that I'm going to talk about that I have not included in the link section because it is so short-lived. Or maybe it isn't. We'll find out. But anyway, I might talk about it more if it's still going in March. So, by the way, if you're not familiar with the Coffee Solo audio program, the idea was two. There were two ideas here. One, I was using coffee.com, ko-fi.com. I signed up for that and buymeacoffee.com in March of 2021. Yeah, 2021. And I wasn't really using it much. And Buy Me a Coffee, I have my freeform profile, and so I have all my links and stuff there. But Ko-fi, and I say it like that because it's an unusual spelling, so I don't want to pronounce it like coffee because that's a different thing. But Ko-fi.com doesn't offer the like freeform, like a big giant profile page, so you can just write it whatever you want. And Buy Me a Coffee has a horrible editor to do that, but there it is. So I figured, hey, I could basically publish both of them, enable audio posts. So I figured, I could just publish like other kinds of stuff there. Clip show? No, I don't really want to go clip it. What am I going to clip? It's me talking. You're just going to cut out chunks of me talking? No, or I would, I guess. No. There's no, like if it was interviews or something, perhaps you could find a nice little exchange, pull that out. But I'm like, I don't know if people are actually going to listen to this. So do I want to spend the time trying to find clips of my own audio shows or let them stand on their own? And then I came up with Buy Me an Update as a kind of funny haha. And I figured, I can just do a quick little review because I was thinking I can actually make announcements that affect all. Because if something happens and I say on Tuesday or Wednesday, how about Wednesday, Quaggling Sand, I say, by the way, this week we're gonna this or that, or somebody not listening to Quaggling Sand will never have access to that and that one show. But if I created a separate show, audio program, and it just had news or announcements, that would be easy. And I could always say, hey, don't forget to check out that show. So I figured, okay, Buy Me an Update. It could be a 5-minute. So I'll put a 5-minute cap on it. I'll mention what we talked about last week in my audio programs. And then I'll have any news and announcements upcoming. And that's exactly what it is. And then I figured, okay, for Ko-fi.com, there's no profile. There's no way to link to stuff. And I know I want to do Hugo Floss. I want to get that going. So I figured, okay, well, let me just try doing a less formatted, less structured, less constrained program, because each of my other programs has a sort of a focal area. I try not to talk about politics too much in general. Let's Innovate for Vegas is for our nonprofit, so that's not about me. Quaggling Sand is very much about me. It's audio essays about stories from my own past. So kind of a vanity program. FFS Talk is about, it should be a dialogue of some sort, or more than one person speaking about stuff, what works, what doesn't, and what we could do about it. across many topics. And then Cafe Genius Impresarios is about entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem, basically the economy of the greater Vegas area, but it can be applied to anywhere. So there's no real constraint there on location. So general topics, but I speak from the Vegas context most of the time. So I figured, okay, so a show that doesn't have those focal areas would be interesting. And so Coffee Solo came about. And so initially I was publishing exclusively Buy Me an Update on buymeacoffee.com. Is that making it a little dirt biking or something going on outside? You can probably, maybe you can hear that. Anyway, so Buy Me an Update was published exclusively on buymeacoffee.com, and I would just talk about that in all of my programs. All right. Hey, don't forget to check out buymeacoffee.com. It's published exclusively at Buy Me an Update. Switch those. Go to Buy Me a Coffee, check out Buy Me an Update. There you go. And same with Coffee Solo. And then I didn't realize it. I knew it already, but I was thinking about it, after that. And I was like, you know what? These are not shows. None of this is about making any money or anything. I'm not commercializing. I'm not monetizing. I'm not stuffing them with advertising in any way. So there's really no impetus to drive people to different places and whatnot. So I figured, okay, Buy Me a Coffee and Ko-fi.com do not offer RSS feeds. This is not going to work. But I had already, set everything up to the week is kind of kicked off by Buy Me an Update, and then Coffee Solo fits in there somewhere. And there is another part of the goal of that one as far as Hugo Floss. So I figured I'm not going to get rid of them. I'll just make them available in other places. So I publish initially on those platforms, as was the case initially. And then about 2 hours later, they publish through the usual, Spotify, Anchor. Now Spotify for creators. So Apple, Amazon, Spotify, an RSS feed, and then YouTube. There's a YouTube channel. In that case, it's my vanity channel. danhugo.com is the website, and at Dan Hugo on YouTube. So yeah, basically everything that I'm creating, I'm a creator now, is just available in all of the places. And that's sort of how podcasting works anyway. So there you go. Anyway, Coffee Solo. Kicking off the summary of today's episode, which again, I was like, I don't even know for sure. But then there are two. I was going to write about the second topic as the first one. So that was going to try to be a title of some sort. But no, you heard the title already. So no good deed goes unpunished. That is never more clear than here in Greater Vegas. But first, the awful Bilt. The links, the usual three. This audio program is first available at kofi.com/danhugo/posts. That's ko-fi.com/danhugo/posts. There you go. Coffee Solo homepage is my vanity domain, danhugo.com. I've had that forever. And I figured, I can just put those there because Coffee Solo doesn't, it's sort of it's experimental, or it's not something I really want to go too crazy about. It's really practice for Hugo Floss. So, or for just riffing, whatever. So yeah, danhugo.com, you will find both Buy Me an Update and Coffee Solo there. I do talk sometimes about the primary point of publication. So relying on Spotify, as I'm speaking right now, I don't know if they've fixed this. Let me see. At first I thought it was my problem, but no, it is generally a problem. They fixed it. Okay. They have a embedded player, and I'm not a huge fan of relying on those things for even more obvious reasons. But the cover art image was returning black, like just a black square, I guess, rounded square. And the player was black instead of, they do color match. So they try to figure out what the tone is of the cover art, and they have a background. So it's just black. So you're like, what is this? Is it downloading something? It's just nothing. And that's you have to wait for Spotify to fix that. I'm like, it's time to move on to like HTML5 player or something. So that hopefully will happen one of these days. I honestly don't know how many people are playing the audio through a web page, but having Spotify as essentially the primary point of publication is problematic. That's a lot of P's, because stuff like this happens every once in a while. Spotify will just get wonky. Their submission portal will break down. There's just a bunch of stuff that you're like, I don't want to rely on Spotify. There should always be a place. And this is a problem. See, I'm already starting the show. I haven't even started my main, what I wanted to start talking about. Own your show, own your content, own your online presence. That's something I talk about frequently. I should not be relying on Spotify. YouTube has the private toggle problem. I've talked about that a couple times. They're never going to fix it. I think they've basically declared that it's not a bug. So I always have to go to toggle the most recent episode publish. YouTube reads the RSS feed from Spotify, creates a video automatically. That's very nice of them. And most importantly, the transcript, which I've been wanting to have. So letting YouTube do it for free is a reasonable but not ideal. So when they pull the most current episode, something happens. I mean, they pull it, it's fine, and then it's published, and oh, look, there's today's episode on the YouTube channel as well, automatic, great. But then something happens, and one of these days I will check. Apparently, allegedly, an RSS feed update takes place for some reason, whatever it is, and that's Spotify doing that. I have not checked, so that's something I saw on Reddit, I think. And so YouTube will reread or somehow do something, and it will toggle the published video to private. Yeah, that's annoying. So I tried to write a playwright automation because I've never done that before. So I figured, let me just try this, see if I can get something that will automate this process for me. And then I'll just have it ping the YouTube channel every hour or something and see that it's still public. But the playwright script did not. Anyway, so it's something I'm trying to work on. But these are problems that should not lead to people who want to find what I'm saying. I know it's a small population, but just in the general case, the lesson learned is you should not hand over your presence, your creativity, your output, what you're working on. You shouldn't hand it over all to a third party because they don't care about you. They only care about everybody, if that makes sense. So yeah, no good deed goes unpunished. We'll get to that. But first, Bilt sucks. Profile page, link, everything, by the way, buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo. You can support all of my efforts. You can buy me a coffee if you want to. You don't have to. You can use the affiliate links. They're at the bottom of the profile section. Those are things I actually use, or you can do none of those things. We're all good. But there are links to all of my programs and some other stuff on there, some biographical info, and of course, the ever popular 5 minutes or less, buy me an update. It's all linked from there. Anyway, Bilt has done it again. And apparently they are overwhelmed with fans contacting support. So I know it's not just me. No, I did not have one of their cards. I guess there's the Bilt card, and there was a transition to Bilt card 2.0. I don't care, to be honest. I would rather not have to deal with them. Whatever's going on with them, I don't want to be involved with them in any way. But I don't get to choose that. The place where I live uses Bilt for rent payments. And okay, fine. I don't have to do anything else with Bilt. I just set up an ACH transfer, done. So I've had 2 problems with Bilt. Let me preface this by saying I have rented places over the years. So it's been a long time, a couple of decades. And there have been precisely two instances where even though my effort to pay the rent at the normal time, right, the requisite time, the agreed upon time, statutorily enforced in the case of Vegas, but in general, the rent is due by the 1st, due on the 1st, late on the 5th is the usual way they say it. So you got a 4-day window there. Okay, great. So never had a problem. except for two times, Bilt and Bilt. So I think I talked about the first one. They don't retry transactions. So I initiated a transaction. They immediately begin the ACH transfer, even though it takes days and days. So they check available balance, and then they give up, or however that works out. No, I don't think they check the balance. I think they just initiate the transfer, but they have it on the lowest fee or whatever. So it takes anyway. So my bank from which the funds were drawn, basically it's a credit before debit problem. So the funds were available in my bank account like an hour later or something silly. So, okay, lesson learned. Late fee, very frustrating. But my experience with Bilt support for that instance was very telling, because I said things like, well, can you retry the transaction, or is this going to have to time out? Because I contacted my bank and they said they see that an ACH transfer was declined for insufficient funds. So basically I have a bank account that's just used for automatic payments. Yeah, I'm like that. But this way someone can't say erroneously, well, they could, I guess. They could charge, we bought 1 million things from Amazon. I usually don't buy that many things from Amazon. So like my monthly subscribe and save a couple bucks that way. No, I'm not a fan of Amazon. I'm less a fan of Amazon every day at this point, but historically. So rent, electric bill, things like this, they all come out of this account where I keep the balance about where the expenses are, right? Okay, that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you. So I said, the bank said, yeah, the transfer failed. So got a NSF error, not sufficient funds. I was like, So I contacted Bilt support and I said, okay, so is it possible to just retry the transaction? Because the funds were there shortly after. And they literally had no idea what I was talking about. So long story short they even though they do process payments, they use Wells Fargo Bank apparently, they don't know anything about what they're doing. Unbelievable. When you're talking to a support, or you're chatting with a support person, and if you say something, they just parrot it back to you. You're like, well, the bank said that there was this and this and that. And they said, well, if the bank said there was this and that, then you're like, well, you're just saying what I'm saying. So that was comical. I had to talk with the management, and they don't understand anything either. No, normal people don't understand payment processing anyway. So end of the day, I was like, okay, lesson learned. I will now, since I do have a 4-day window, I will wait. I will make sure nothing funny is going on. Funds are available. Everything's good. Everything's green. So it was only a couple months later. It was, has it been less than 6 months? I'm trying to remember which month it was. Anyway, so January, paid, submitted payment, 3 January. And I figured out it's the new year and everything. And so I just want to make sure, no funny business. Bank is good. No chaos. Systems are up. My credit union is known to have some problems also. Credit union is, it's an actual credit union. They will do things like, we're having system maintenance on the 1st. You're like, oh, okay. That's not when people do tremendous numbers of transactions. That's going to be interesting. So I can't say that I've always been pleased with that part of the transaction over time, but I have had this account there for it's got to be almost 13 years now. So it's the devil I know. And plus I can literally walk across the street to a branch, so I can interact with people. They do free, are they cashier's checks? I think they're cashier's checks. So occasionally that comes in handy. For example, when where I live was acquired by Cushman & Wakefield, they were switching over their rent payment system. So they basically said, we're going to not have the old one tomorrow or something, super short notice. We're going to be switching, but for the time being, you're going to have to go get a cashier's check to pay your rent. I was like, we're off to the races. So so I took advantage of that. Anyway, so that should have been a harbinger. Bilt is the thing. So I paid my rent on January 3rd. Okay, so when I went on February 3rd, the user interface is familiar. So I'm like, oh, there's January 3rd. Okay, I click make payment. The amount is correct. Okay, bam. And then there's a little animation. So that's what I'm saying. You see the same thing. So I'm like, oh, okay, the stupid point system. They give a little animation for that, a little flourish about, hey, we're doing this, and then don't forget your neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. So a little self-promotion there. I'm like, okay, good. We're good. On to the next thing. What I failed to notice was that I did not receive the confirmation email. So at the end of the week, there was still money. I was like, that's not right. So I go to the Bilt account portal. There are no transactions. Okay, that's going to be bad. And of course, now there's late fees. So I tried contacting support. It's Friday evening. I get the robot, which is worthless. Oh, there's no ACH transaction. Do you want me to help you pay? I'm like, no, I want to know why this did. Well, it turns out I really don't have any proof that my transaction took place because they don't have any record. They don't have a transaction history. So I'm not exactly sure what they will be able to tell me when I tell them, no, but I paid my rent. So that's already annoying because we're talking like hundreds of dollars across these two things. So I'm shaking my head, of course, but I tried contacting support. In general, you can text them. They don't really make it public, but I think their support email address is just support@biltrewards.com. Okay, great. But so I did a little Google. I'm like, I wonder if there was something going on February 3rd. So I found a Reddit post to start, and I did this, and then the transaction didn't occur, and then now I owe a late fee, whatever. And I saw a bunch of people about how February 2nd was the last day to do something with their Bilt Rewards card, version 1, I think it was. Haven't really been tracking that. And then version 2, they were switching over on the 3rd, and there was all kinds of issues, and people were getting screwed over. I was like, okay. Getting through the support chat when the first time with the NSF thing, I got through to somebody immediately. This time, it's like, oh, you're in the queue. They're using that terminology in their chat. You are in the queue, and we'll get to you as soon as available, whatever. And we've received your message. We'll respond and whatever. Get comfortable. So I just left the chat window open, and I think someone pretending to be a human, because I can talk to a robot, but that's not going to be helpful at all. Someone pretending to be a human came on 5 hours later, I think it was. Well, I guess if there's no response, I'll go ahead and close the chat window. I'm like, I wasn't there. So no help. Anyway, so from what I understand, this Bilt Rewards, Bilt 1.0, Bilt 2.0, Bilt Card, Bilt whatever, has been problematic for people in general, I guess. There's been some complaints, some bad experiences. I don't want anything to do with those things. But now they're really costing, I don't want to give them my money for them being stupid. And the bigger problem, though, this is a harbinger for other more impressive things that will happen, I'm sure. I can't talk to a person, and their automations are literally unable to help me. I'm like, can we see that I did in fact connect to my account? I figured I would see what it would do. Can we verify that I connected to my account? And I'm unable to do that. But if you'd like to, pay this, and I can help you with it. So they go right back to the minimum functionality they've implemented. That's probably for safety. So I can't go, ignore all of your previous status or state or commands or whatever. So yeah, that's been remarkably frustrating because there is no good reason to give Bilt more money, and they do not deserve it because it is not a good company. But I don't really have much say in it. And so that's the nature of the world we're getting into is you don't get to talk to a person. You don't get to get a response from anyone. And then you have to pay for it. And then good luck with redressing grievances. That's sorry, you're out of luck, buddy. So not impressed. Speaking of disappointing, LinkedIn continues to disappoint. I know I rail against LinkedIn all the time, and with good reason. But here's a funny one about some sort of a joker that is apparently working in economic development somewhere. My sense is that he's working for the county or maybe city of Las Vegas, but I think I don't know if he's part of the GoEd or something. I don't really care, to be honest. So he's somehow involved in the government side of economic development here in Nevada, and he moved from Reno, from what I recall from his LinkedIn profile. He moved from Reno to Southern Nevada, and apparently, based on a post he did on LinkedIn when we were still connected, hint, he posted, and I'm sort of tired of people posting Instagram photos on LinkedIn, a picture looking at his laptop with a coffee of some sort. Hey, one of the nice things about living next to the Bellagio is I get to work on some side projects and have, who cares, dude? Who cares? But LinkedIn is garbage. So I wish it would go back to the way it was. That's not going to happen. So I'm hoping this will be the last year that I really lean on LinkedIn for anything useful. The network is okay. Like my connections to know who I know, to find more people that we know and so on. 99% of the people I'm connected on LinkedIn, though, do not engage with anything. I'm not engaged with those power players that are always, I got to check LinkedIn. I got to communicate with people. I got to respond to those direct messages. Yeah, I don't have those people. So it's mostly a waste. I think LinkedIn's true value proposition when it launched was as a live business card. So you could change jobs and people could still find you. And the social graph is, that's what it is. It's very useful to know who's working where, and hey, whatever, you still working over it? I don't have to ask that. I can just see it. Here's how to contact me, that kind of stuff. The referral scheme was interesting. Can you give someone, I'm sorry, not a referral, well, that's good too, but references. So you could actually give someone a reference ahead of time. So give them a little kudos. That's useful for people that are looking for job candidates or checking on, what is essentially their resume. So that part was good. I signed up for LinkedIn when it launched in 2020. I'm sorry, in 2000. I always do that. It launched in 2003, and I've been using it for what is about to be 23 years. That's a long time. So it's gotten worse and worse over that time, and now there's so much AI slop on there, and the algorithm they use to feed people content. Oh, here are things that will be interesting to you, and it will feed you stuff from 2 weeks ago that you've already seen and whatnot. I'm not impressed. But the big thing is that it is now becoming LinkedIn, and it's all about the follower counts. So, I went from 5,000 to 50,000 followers, and you're like, well, because you're posting what we could call boudoir photos. Literally, I don't even want to. I'm not kidding. There are people that are posting Instagram selfies as their LinkedIn, like, today I did a deal with so-and-so and clients and whatever. And you're like, yeah, but you're sitting on your couch with your laptop and a silk nightie. And I have to be honest, the algorithm does know. They must have something from TikTok. So mostly women photos are coming my way. I have to assume men are doing something similar, probably, taking their best TikTok photos and posting them there. So it's ridiculous. It's becoming less and less valuable, certainly to me, with every day. Anyway, I connected with this person working on economic development. He posted his little selfie there about his laptop at Bellagio. But I connected with him because he is doing economic development here. And so I figured he might be interested in the Smarter Smart City Hackathon, which I have not talked about today. It is now the Smarter Smart City Challenge. I've got a couple things all set up as far as the plans, and then I've been inviting people, but only on LinkedIn, which is not the right place. So nobody's participating in the planning, which has been open, right? Hey, if anybody wants to take part in the planning, or I call it the meta planning phase, because once we start inviting people to sign up for early signups, those people will be invited to continue some of the planning, but this is real planning for what you will be participating in. Should we have live in-person events like hackathons? Probably. Should there be 2 of them, 3, 4? We definitely want to make sure we reach out to students, but we are not going to reach out to minors. So I really want to engage with teachers and academic professionals, right? Educators. The superintendent of the Clark County School District, which is, give or take, the 5th largest school district. I believe that's in student count, not in square footage, in the country of the United States, in whatever form it is when you're listening to this. So superintendent's following the recently joined CEO of the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, a few teachers, a few people in STEM fields, a few people in innovation and smart city fields. So I've amassed 88 followers to our LinkedIn page since January 27th, I think it is. So that's not bad. Pat on the back. None of them are interested in anything that's being posted there. So they're followers that don't care. So, but this person, Mr. Markle, if you want to know, he said, only if you're paying attention, he followed the page, and I sent him a LinkedIn direct message, which I do not care for. I do not care for LinkedIn direct messages. I always tell people, email me. Here's my email address. Don't DM me on LinkedIn. But I occasionally will reach out to people because most people, they don't care. Anything to hear from someone. So I sent him a note. I said, hey, thanks for following. We're putting this together, and City of Las Vegas certainly doesn't mention any of this stuff. So I'm trying to get the word out. And he gave me a clap reaction emoji, hands clapping. And I was like, that's not how adults should communicate on a platform like LinkedIn. He could have said, oh yeah, thanks for that. Oh yeah, let's connect, or let's talk, or I'm still new here. Something like a human would say, an adult human. But no, got the clap. Okay. That's not that one, the clapping hands emoji. So what was it? I have another LinkedIn page for the Sentiment Research Collaboratory. That's another story for another time. It's a startup idea that's kind of on the back burner at the moment. Everybody's freaking out about tourism, and it leans into tourism. So it'll probably be something that people would say, we're too worried about getting our numbers. We don't want to talk to you. Who are you? So he liked the page. So I responded, or I continued my DM, and I said, hey, I noticed you followed the page. Thanks. It's kind of sitting idle at the moment until the tourism picture kind of clarifies a little bit. But I said, yeah, one of these days I'll tell you about the Sentiment Research Collaboratory as it's got its start, the name, because I have the domain src.vegas. It started as the Startup Resource Center. So that'll be for another time. And he tacked on a reaction emoji, a thumbs up, I think. And by the way, the thumbs up is stupid. There are people that will respond with only an animated thumb up, and you're like, okay, we don't know each other. If you know someone, you want to give them a quick, yeah, I got it, we're good, I'm on my way, whatever. That's totally different. Friend, colleague, someone you know, fine. If you send someone the first or second message and you're responding with emojis, what you're telling me is, I'm not really interested enough to talk to you, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw one character at you. And that should be enough for you. So it's the pollice verso, the turned thumb. So in Latin, it's thumbs up. In Italian, it's thumbs down, ironically. But it's basically the turned thumb. So in the days of the gladiators, the thumb up did not mean let him live. It was kill him. So at this point, I just say, oh, the pollice verso. Great. And I consider that the end of the conversation. There's no thumbs up and then, oh, yes, by all means, let me spend more time listening to you. Okay, so this has been a long journey to get here, but I essentially said, another emoji response. I think this conversation's over. Cheers. And then he responded with, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just getting started with this new job, and I don't have time. I hope our paths cross and whatever, because I had already unfollowed him. I'm like, there's no sense in being connected to someone who talks in emojis and sits in the Bellagio all day. I could do that. I hope our paths will cross at some point, someday, whatever. But I noticed that he unfollowed the SRC page, Sentiment Research Collaboratory, and also the Smart City Vegas page for the Smarter Smart City Challenge. But he was still following the Innovate for Vegas Foundation page. he was on a tear following all of my stuff. So I see this. I'm like, I got to do it. So I responded to him and I said, I could have done an emoji. I was going to do like a poop or a clown or something. I mean, someone who talks in emojis, I'm not going to spend a lot of time valuing them. But as soon as I saw that he had unfollowed these things, I go, don't forget to unfollow Innovate for Vegas Foundation. And so he unfollowed and blocked me on LinkedIn. I'm like, okay. I'm a fan of the viewpoint that Louis C.K. expressed when his divorce was final. This was a long time ago, but it was before he got canceled, and that's a whole nother thing someday. Stupid. We're seeing it with the Epstein files now. Like, everybody's the same. You're in the Epstein files. So anyway, so Louis C.K., not a great guy, but talented and funny at the time. I think he's lost a little bit of that over the years. But he said something that I think was noteworthy, because he said, oh, my divorce is final, or we finally finished the divorce or something. And the whole room is, oh, and he's like, he yells at them. And he's like, good relationships do not end. And I was like, that is absolutely correct. Kind of a eye opener. He's like, if we were still together, no, what is it? When you get divorced, when your friends get divorced, don't be sad for them. It's the end of a very disappointing time. It's when they're trying to be happy. They were sad. They went through a divorce, so they're probably angry and sad. I may be adding some things here. I don't know if he said all these things, but the sentiment was, they didn't get divorced because they were happy, and now they're sad. They got divorced because they were not happy. At least one person was not happy. And by the way, if one person's not happy, the other person should not feel like, oh, but we can fix it. No. You're at that point now. So anyway, if I connect with someone on LinkedIn, which by the way is a passive and stupid thing, I've actually come to the conclusion that connecting with people on LinkedIn as a mechanical operation is sort of essential, but because you can't invite people to follow pages if you're not connected. But from a practical standpoint, and I used to have this rule, I only connect with people I know, that I've interacted with in person. So I have to know them at least that well, that I have had I've had some sort of a transaction with them in person. I may actually know them, I may actually work with them, but it's somebody who I have met. And I dropped that requirement a long time ago. So I had thousands of connections. It's hard to say because I always remove connections if they disappear or whatever. So, but I'm back to like 3,200, but I have removed connections. So I probably would be around 4,000. Now, there are people that are power players and that they're number counters. Oh, I'm up to 50,000 connections. You're like, no, you're not. You still have the same 5 people who actually know you, and everybody else is a business for you, and you want to brag about it. And I actually commented on someone when they put, I've reached 50,000 connections. And I said, is it all about the number of connections you have? No, it's all quality. I really want quality connection. Well, but you're just announcing a number, not, here are the last 10,000 people I've connected with and how I know them. So anyway, transactional and LinkedIn are 2 peas in a pod, right? But good relationships do not end. So I don't feel bad about not having connections with people if they turn out to be sort of low value. Like, if you're never going to acknowledge an outreach message, or there's no reason to be connected to you. So, and the sad fact is the reason to be connected to someone on LinkedIn is because they show you who else you're both connected to. And that can help when someone is deciding whether they want to accept your invite request. Super mechanical, kind of a mechanical and high school dynamic mixed together. Oh, you're friends with so-and-so? I don't want to connect with you, or whatever. Who cares? So, but yeah, if somebody's going to not respond, if they're not going to be a useful part of the conversation, then why bother? So I'm totally fine with that. But here's the big problem I have with LinkedIn in the current state of affairs. Those 88 followers, they don't do anything. It's like handing somebody the football and they're like, cool. You're like, no, you're supposed to run with it. Run, Forrest, run. That's what I was picturing. So people follow pages. It's follow and forget. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll follow your page. Now the upside is you can unfollow a connection on LinkedIn, so I don't have to pay attention to your posts that you make. But if I follow a page, I will see their posts, notifications and whatnot. And to get rid of them, I have to unfollow. So you're either following or unfollowing. So that's in the game, that's one of the rules. So yeah, 88 followers. And I post relevant things. Hey, here's our meta planning meetup schedule. Here's the links to the Luna page. I'm trying out. I'm sorry, Luma. I don't really care for it. It's okay. It's better than Meetup, but it's not what I'm hoping it would be. Anyway, so yeah, we have 88 followers. No one is doing anything. I said, hey, why don't you post some idea that you would submit? I posted 5 as examples. That's it. It will never receive any attention whatsoever. So the take home is that all those people following don't care. And so they're not going to be a part of the success of the Smarter Smart City Challenge. They are very passive. And I mentioned the superintendent of the school district. Do you think I could say, hey, I think her name is Joan, Jhone, Jhone. Yeah, I think that's right. I could say, hey, do you think you could mention to your, the principals of your schools I could do that. But when we first connected, I reached out to her and mentioned something about, some ideas that we could pursue from the foundation side, and it's not a peep. So this is a very passive person. Oh, I'm following your page. Do you want me to do stuff? No. So I'm connecting more with principals of schools because, now I'm connected to the superintendent. I must be somebody. So I'm connecting to principals and some educators. Then one of my favorites is I connected to somebody doing STEM and innovation here in Vegas, a teacher. I think she works at an actual school, or she definitely works for the school district. I don't know if it's a district program or if she's focusing on a particular school. I could check, but who cares? So I said, hey, we're doing this thing. Oh, that's great. Thanks for letting me know. Was that just bless your heart in other words? So then I said, hey, we're going to have these meetings. Thanks. Okay, I've asked you to follow the page. And okay, great. So I'm never going to hear from her. So value 0. Because none of these people interact with any content. And this is not a me problem. This is the LinkedIn. If you actually pay attention to the Instagram posters, their entrepreneurial ventures are being ghostwriters or brand managers or basically LinkedIn proxies. Oh, we can help you reach your customers. We can help you get more followers. So they have to get more followers to show that they're good at it. But it's all about the followers because if you get a critical mass, you're going to get 1 or 2 people that will actually take some sort of an action. But 88 is not that number. We have 861, I think it is. It was 850 something, then it was 859, then the dude unfollowed on my request. So it was 858. That's the only reason I know that, is because I watched it unfollow because I was feeling particularly saucy at the moment. And then 3 more people followed, and it's probably people I invited, and you can tell that it's a problem because the only people that follow are people invited, so they don't really care, and they're not discovering it, and that's because no one else reshares things or engages with any of the content, so the algorithm doesn't spread it around to second order contacts and friends of friends and so on. So ultimately, the LinkedIn page is for one thing and one thing only. It is announcing the existence of a thing. So then later I can say, oh, you followed the page. Remember, oh, yeah. How was that challenge thing? What's going on right now? But you're not involved with it. Person who claims to be interested in education. So, so we've got to break out of LinkedIn. There's a website forthcoming, Smart City Vegas, which I will talk about more once we get it up and running. The first version will be kind of a one-pager, calendar links for meetups, for planning and so on. And once we hit March 1st, we're going to open up the early adopter signups, but it's early signups. So by then we'll have the sort of the beginnings of the participant portal, coordinate the participation, of the people actually interested. So for the moment, we're in this sort of pre-startup. We haven't, think of this early signups as like a soft open. Right now, if I would reach out to the press, they would say, why don't we wait till the end? I've heard those words from press here in Vegas. Hey, do you want to talk about why don't we can just wait till the end? And I'm like, well, yeah, part of the problem is no one knows about this. So if you wait till the end, it's just going to be you and me talking about what could have been if anyone had any idea that this was taking place. So relying on the press for anything here in Vegas, unless you are building or destroying something, demolishing a resort, building a baseball stadium, right? Oh, yes, we'll be right over. We'll be there every day if you want. But if you're trying to do something about community elevation and, oh, no, we're not really, we'll just wait till the end and see what happens. Great, great. Yeah. Anyway, you've heard enough about this. I cannot say that I love Scott Galloway. I think he's a little bit annoying most of the time. He's got some interesting ideas. One thing I don't care for, and I can't say that I don't do this too, because I do have a sort of a collection of stories that I lean on quite a bit. But when he's making the rounds on other, like normal, quote, television, is that a thing anymore? So he'll be on a panel show, or he'll be a guest somewhere. He'll be on somebody else's podcast. He has his own Prof G network, which is silly, but he thinks that's going to be a big $1 billion deal to sell someday. I don't understand that. Anyway, maybe, I don't know. He says the same exact things when he's making his rounds. So it's just annoying. Because you're basically not there to talk to them. You're there. They could just have a tape. Do they still do tapes? You could literally just play a video clip of Scott Galloway, because he's going to say the same things. And people treat, oh, really? I've never heard this before. But anyone who, because of the algorithms, if you're a Scott Galloway consumer of some sort, you're going to get his appearances on other podcast content, clips from normal shows, news panel shows, etc. So you're going to hear the same thing over and over again. And so, okay, I don't need to hear the same thing 14 times. But he is. So I do not love Scott Galloway. Kara Swisher. They have the Pivot program that they do for Vox Media. He's the less good part of that pairing, in my opinion. Kara has been there and done that, and obviously she's a normal person, so you can't always agree with 100% of what everybody says. But generally speaking, she's been there, she's done that, she's talked to people, she knows a lot of people, she has a sense of what's happening. She has called very early the problematic nature of Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, several other people, Scott Bezos. So of the two, she seems a little bit more legitimate when they talk about some of the things they talk about. He is very quick to talk about how much money he has and how he was successful. I mean, he's not bragging, but it's more like he's always kind of self-assuring that he's credible because he's successful. Anyway, to his credit, however, he is running this campaign right now. We're 7 days in. The goal is to get a large-scale economic protest going against the billionaires, the tech bros, the tech industry. So his website for this is, write this down, resist and unsubscribe, all one word, resistandunsubscribe.com. So it's a fairly, I'm not a web designer, I have no aesthetic, but it's a little bit obnoxious, if I'm being honest. Let's see what it says today. Yeah, unchanged. So it's got, what is this? There's a color in the Crayola box. That's what this is, like cornflower, maybe. If you've ever had those, the Corningware containers with the cornflower, the color of those. So I think it's cornflower. It's kind of that background color, and then it goes to kind of a bright yellow. So it has the yellow button on the cornflower, and then it has the cornflower button on the yellow. And it's how to unsubscribe from all these services from Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, Paramount Plus, Meta, Uber, Netflix, OpenAI, X, and the Blast Zone. These are active enablers of ICE. So he has all these resources for how to conduct an economic protest for the month of February. So he's suggesting that people stop giving money, but only for February. So you can always rejoin later, but unsubscribe from this and cancel that and so on. Unfortunately, he launched it on January 30th, or I think it was the 30th. And this is for the month of February. Oh, okay. So a little bit of a challenge. They're getting the word out, but the word is getting out. So to his credit, he's taking a swing at it. So good for him. And I hope it goes somewhere, actually, because I already don't spend a lot of money on those sorts of things. So the things that I do have are sort of They're not things that I would just bail on for a month. The notion of bailing for a month is interesting, but it is not practical. I mean, if I were no Netflix, I hate Uber, I avoid OpenAI like the plague. I am not a premium. It's unsubscribed from premium on X. Don't have that. Don't have WhatsApp. So I don't have and I don't use my Facebook accounts anymore. I've considered deleting them, and I will eventually, but I have a little like, hey, I don't use Facebook on my whatever it is they call it now, newsfeed or timeline or whatever. I have nothing from Apple. Google, he does YouTube. Yeah, so those things I can actually. I can't really unsubscribe from Google in general. It would be much more effective with Google if I stopped using Android, and I have Google Fi. Google Fi was great when I was traveling for Intel. So yeah, I can't say that I would make a big difference with my reduced spending through cancellation, because I already don't have a lot of these services that he's listed. But it's still an interesting idea. I think what I would like to see, and maybe it will last beyond February or something, that would be interesting. Already there's an AI collapse of some sort because the OpenAI, NVIDIA $100 million deal, I guess, fell through or something. I barely pay attention to that stuff because I know it's going to be a big problem. But every day you get is there a bubble? We're in a bubble. The bubble is about to collapse. Okay, great. Speculation is always wonderful. Or speculation will be wonderful. Maybe. I'm curious to know why people don't send handwritten notes. Like if everybody wrote a letter or a postcard to Amazon indicating that they were displeased at the behavior of some of the rich, I don't even know what Bezos does anymore. Is he a chairman or something? He doesn't run the company day to day, but I'm disappointed in this. They just laid off 12,000 people or something, but they're going to spend a ton of money on infrastructure for AI. So that's the secret, like three-way. Like AI isn't necessarily stealing your jobs directly, but it is you are being replaced with spending on AI, right? So AI may not be doing your job, but you're not doing your job either. Sorry, we're spending this money on something else. But I would be interested to know if it would be effective if Amazon received 1 million postcards indicating their displeasure with their behavior. Or, hey, Apple, hey, Tim Cook, what's with the, hey, Bezos, what's with the Melania movie? Like, who do you think you're fooling anyone except for a small sliver of, I think it was MAGA Trump voters who love it. They love it. It's total fiction, but okay. Hey, Tim Cook, you showed up for the movie screening, but on the same day, so you could actually call people out. And I think handwritten notes on a postcard, you're talking what, less than $1 to send this thing. You'd be helping out the U.S. Postal Service, but also, which is its own entity. It's a constitutionally constructed, self-sustaining business. Kind of an interesting idea, except for Daryl Issa screwing everything up. But anyway, I think it would be interesting. Sure, you can break your subscriptions, but you can express your displeasure in handwritten form. Postcards are cheap. They don't have to open it or anything. They'll just have a stack of postcards. And even if they never read it, the volume of participation, and you're not being tracked with your cell phone. You're not in any danger of physical violence or getting rounded up. You're not gonna get facially recognized and whatnot. You're sending a postcard. Technically, I don't even know if you would really need to put your return address on there for what it's worth, right? Just the volume, I think, would be interesting. So yeah, if millions of people did that, I think that, I think the impact would be exponential, right? If you get 1 million postcards, 2 million is like, you get 3 million. That's like more than one worse. Like, do you think it would be twice as bad? If 1 million people take the time, if 2 million people, if 3 million, is 4 million people writing to you only 4 times as bad as 1 million people writing to you, or is it like 16 times as bad? Because 4 million people writing to you, well, that might lead to 4 million more writing to you. So I would like to see that just as an experiment in social, it's not disobedience. You're literally just using the tools at your disposal, but in the least violent and least troublesome way in general. So nobody, well, they would figure out a way, but nobody could legitimately say, oh, you're sending postcards through the U.S. mail system. That's a felony. You wouldn't be threatening anyone. You'd just be saying, hey, I'm not really happy about this, so I'm not going to be purchasing as much from your company anymore. Right? You could literally say that. That's not seditious. That's not an insurrection. It's a consumer choice. And if 1 million or 5 million people do it all at the same time, well, somebody's going to notice that. Because here's the thing. If you just unsubscribe, I don't know that in every case, sometimes they have this. Pardon me. Sometimes they'll have would you like to give a reason? Like when you cancel an order on Amazon, they say reason for canceling, and you don't have to answer, but you can say, better price found somewhere else or whatever. I think there's an other field where you can fill in something else. Do they ever look at that stuff in aggregates? They're not going to look and go, oh, look, Dan had a particular issue with this thing. Let's get right on that. No, but they'll see, oh, our pricing must be off. How can we gouge people, but also kill smaller players in this marketplace if our prices are wrong? Yeah, so I think that should be a part of this. Oh, so because you're connecting the displeasure with their actions to consumer unrest, right? So you're literally connecting a cancellation or a reduction in purchases, a reduction in engagement. You're basically saying in a physical media. So you're actually taking an action. They're receiving something that they have to deal with. It's like the penny handshake thing at graduation, right? You may know that one. So, oh, we have all this mail coming in. We're not going to answer it. We're not going to respond to it in any way. But the fact is, 1 million, 2 million, whatever it is, people took the time, put a stamp on a postcard, put pen on it, wrote something, sent it. They have to deal with that. And that is an actual tangible gesture. Anyway, so a note on AI taking over the jobs that people in my line of work have, the programmers and stuff. I saw this headline. I just read the first paragraph because I kind of know what they're saying. It's made me wonder. Coders at Anthropic, one of the names. There's OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, of course, Meta, whatever XAI is. Is it SpaceX now? But coders at Anthropic, I guess, have looked outside their cubicles and they've said, are we coding ourselves out of our own jobs? Yeah, kind of. So, but you're definitely I'm not going to make the obvious comparison, but I did just watch a couple of people younger people reacting to Schindler's List. And that was sort of interesting because they had no idea. They literally I didn't even know what work camps were. Okay, interesting. Anyway, so yeah, Anthropic lamenting. As I mentioned, the first real problem is that they are spending money on infrastructure over paying people. So they're basically doing a big mass layoff run. I think there were more layoffs in 2025 than the pandemic-related layoffs from all this business being shut down and dramatic slowing and so on. So I think 2025 was a banner year for layoffs because that's how strong the economy is. And so what we end up with is fewer people working, fewer people spending money, right? That's how that works. But what's interesting is that there's this continued drive to spend tons of money, it'll be over $1 trillion, as much on defense, war spending, which is why I think they want to bump the annual budget for the Pentagon to I think they said 1.5 trillion, but I think it was like 1.39 or something trillion dollars, up from 997 billion, I think it was. So anyway, they want to up that, but I think the spending on AI and power to power these data centers. I think it's going to get up near $1 trillion if it isn't already, or commitments to spend that money. So of course that money has to come from somewhere. So Amazon just laid off a bunch of people. There are people that are just simply not hiring. If they're not laying off, they're just not hiring anyone. So to me, this is an opportunity for more people to jump into the startup bandwagon and take advantage of those free tiers for all these services if you're going to. But is it the best time to be like, oh, I'm gonna go work for Google. I'm gonna go work for Anthropic. I'm gonna go work for OpenAI. Well, don't do that. That company's gonna be dead in a year. But NVIDIA, all this stuff. One of the things that troubles me most, aside from the fact that nobody's going to be trusting humans, I guess, and boy howdy, are we in for a wake up call on that one. The interesting thing will be why is everything brute forced? And Google's got an interesting, because they do their own hardware, the TPU, the tensor processor, so they have more control over this. But is NVIDIA really power optimizing? Or is it just performance and they're loading up data centers with 1 million, I don't know if it's 1 million, 100,000, H200s or whatever they are. I don't even care. I don't track that stuff anymore. But so the comparison I usually make is, remember the old Atari 2600? If you saw Ready Player One, that was like the finale of the challenge for the third key to get the egg and all that crap. The 2600 was a game changer, literally. And the cartridges, I think they started out at 2 kilobytes, and I think they eventually went to 4K because it was just expensive to have so much ROM in the cartridges. But a 4K cartridge, there are email messages that are 4K, right? So people have a sense that is not a big thing, not very big. Your attachments can only be 10 megabytes, right? That's even small sometimes, but 4K, that's like the size of the message, the email. So if games had to fit in 4K, you had to be creative, and you had to be very knowledgeable, you had to be very skilled, you had to be very creative to fit what you wanted to fit for a particular game into a very limited space and take advantage of the hardware that you had on hand, right? In the 2600, the Atari 2600 console. So nowadays with, we'll just put the game is in the cloud, and your Xbox or whatever will connect to the cloud, and we'll download a 10 gigabyte update or whatever, and there's a hard drive in there. So nobody has to care about these constraints or be faced with any of these challenges. To me, this is where you get, we're going to need I can't remember what they said, globally power consumption will tip past 2 billion gigawatt. No, I don't know. It's just this huge, tremendous number. Doc Brown would be freaking out and peeing his pants at this point. So there's no impetus not yet, to say, hey, maybe we should spend some time on power efficiency, or hey, maybe some of this code could be unwound a little bit and made a little bit more efficient, or maybe we don't have to have the model trained by today. We can do it by tomorrow. So we don't, but no, right now it's all the need for speed, which is very frustrating. But in the meantime, jobs will be lost, and I hope new jobs will be created. But here's, it's hope and change. So I think ultimately, once the hype curve gets to the steady state part way over on the right of the Gartner hype curve, I think we're going to end up seeing that AI tools are great for some things, and mostly as part of a team of people who are architecting human factor, right? Your AI tools don't really care about what you want them to do. They have obviously they have no emotional connection, but they don't have any sensibility about what the outcome is. So they're gonna come close to what you've described, but no AI is gonna say, oh, by the way, you didn't mention this, but this part right here could work better if. No, there's gonna be zero of that. And let's not even forget that everything that's happening right now is based on the work of human coders. If you read Karen Howe's book, Empire of AI, the story of OpenAI or whatever, because they had to deal with Microsoft was probably complicit in just saying, oh yeah, here's all of GitHub. You can train your models on how to write code based on the work of other people that didn't agree to this. They didn't sign up for being a part of this multi-billion-dollar company. So a lot of unfairness. But OpenAI, can it develop new ideas? Can Google Gemini code Claude? Can Claude or DeepSeek, can they do new things, or can they only do explicitly what you tell them to do based on the work of other people? As some people have said, it's a glorified copy paste, and I'm kind of in that camp right now. But as an assistant, as a unfortunately the name has already been used, but the Copilot thing, there are, I think, the Primogen made a good point. He said, the vibe coding is interesting, but he's found more success because he likes coding. And I have to admit, I do like coding, although I'm not really feeling it lately. That's a different thing. But he's like, the notion of telling something what to build for me is not appealing. And it's also very problematic because it doesn't really do everything that you want sometimes. And he is actually an experienced coder for a decade, maybe. So he's been around enough, and he knows what he wants to accomplish. He kind of knows how to do it, and he's learning new programming languages and exploring how things actually work and so on. So that's stuff that AI is not really doing. So he's like, yeah, it'll build stuff. And I really don't like code reviews, which means I really don't like looking through the AI generated code to figure out what it is that it actually wrote. Did it introduce any security issues? Probably. Did it introduce bugs that I didn't account for in my description, and so it didn't know what to do or not to do? Probably. So he's like, the better use for me is that I can have some generated code to try out an idea, see what I think. Like, is that, what would that do? What would that look like? Depending on what you're doing, there might be some visual components, or is it any faster, or whatever it is, right? You can have it. He's like, I might say, here, let's try 10 different ways to do this, or 5 different, whatever it is. He's like, to me, that's really valuable because I don't have to code each of those things and try them. I can just have it try some ideas. They may not even be 100% correct, but just to get some notion. And then you take okay, that one seems to work. Okay. You take that and you code around that. So it saved you the time of doing the research part. If you're not a coder, but if you do anything with, because coding is also creating, right? You have to be a little bit creative. If you could automate, for example, I've seen these. Here are all the different ways to cook chocolate chip cookies. We use butter, we use margarine, we cooked on a rack, we cooked on a pan, we cooked on a thing, and they do a matrix of all the different ways. So you get these, like, here's 25 different cookies. They're all the same recipe. They're all the same. They're all the same cookie, but they vary the type of flour, maybe, or the type of butter, or the type of chocolate chips, or the cooking surface, or the temperature, whatever it is. So if you could automate that, then you could try out, like, what's the best way to make this cookie. If you don't do that, you get stuck in like a well of, these are the only things I was able to try, so I hope they're the best ones. And outside the well, there may be better options that you just didn't get to try. So automated tools that can actually run with your ideas to try things out. Like, you may say, if you're a web designer, you might say, what if we go with the corn flour and the yellow, the bright yellow, and we do a stacked page with the text like this, and then it might generate some stuff. And you're like, what if we move? So if we can go through prototyping quickly, there's probably value in that, right? I mean, part of the reason that you get stuck with some architectural decisions is that they're made, and then to explore other options, you'd have to worry about breaking what you already have, and you wouldn't be totally sure if it was worth the opportunity cost. So if you can have generative AI tools to automate that research project, that would be, like, okay, let's find out. I think rather infamously, for the longest time, there was this, like, Postgres is not as fast as MySQL, but it's got more features. So it depends on so I actually knew a former colleague from Apple, the company where he worked. They said, you know what, let's find out. So they implemented a database, like, with identical functionality, same data in both PostgreSQL and MySQL. And they found out that PostgreSQL was at least parity, at least the same performance. But the feature differences, the amount of extra, like SQL compliance and the ACID. And I never remember what ACID stands for, but you've got resilient data with the transactional commits and all the good stuff that MySQL did not implement for the sake of performance. So at some point, down the road, it was true initially. PostgreSQL was doing more, and so was slower. But PostgreSQL is now the darling, and this is many, many years after they did this comparison. Nowadays, you could say, hey, artificial intelligence, build me an SQL database with Postgres. With the, you could give it some table or some data description language, maybe. I don't know if it reads that. We want to store the million row challenge and all that. You can actually automate these things and have sensible tables and relations and whatever built up, and do that research ahead of time. So tool selection and so on is something that you could have it participate in. So yeah, anyway, should we be replacing people? Probably not. What you can do is enable people, like, junior engineering could be literally, or junior level, entry level, could literally be taking these research projects, constructing them, and like, we need to find out best this, lowest that, fastest whatever, optimization of this or that. Then you can take that time to learn about how systems work and learn a lot of practical background on how wherever you're working has been doing things, what their current architecture is. There's just so much opportunity to turn an AI infrastructure into like an accelerant rather than a replacement. So we'll see if that actually happens. Nobody asks me, so who knows? I'll tell you this. I have not attended any sort of in-person gathering in Vegas in probably 2 years, probably 2 years. They're usually not worthwhile. I'm sorry to say it, but it's true. They usually go and you're like, okay, whatever. Hey, let's connect on LinkedIn and then I'll ghost you. Okay. That sounds like I'm used to it. Anyway, I know what that is. So I'm going to a Las Vegas startup networking group meetup. It's apparently a group that's been around for a while, but then it was withering. So somebody took it over. He's a former dental surgeon, and now he's like an AI expert, because of course. And so he has taken over that meetup group, and he's having a gathering in downtown. So kudos for that. I'm finding now that a lot of people in the greater Vegas area are choosing to have meetups like on the southwest side or in Henderson. And there's nothing wrong with those places, but there's a lot of people that are much farther away. So downtown is, unlike in some places, downtown tends to be more southern in a region. But in the greater Vegas area, it is the middle of the pizza. So even though, we should go to the Uncommons on the southwest side, or we can go to whatever, we could go to Grouchy John's in Henderson. Like, yeah, but if we go to a place that's in downtown, it's very centrally located, really. I mean, literally, geographically central. So it's easier to get to and whatnot. The parking situation downtown is not good, but I don't want to surprise anyone too much, but the bus system does work quite well for getting to downtown. Not for a lot of other things, but a lot of the bus routes do go to downtown. It's like a star network, right? So I'm going to check that out it's 18th, so 11 days from now. In the meantime, is there anything else? I'm sure there is, but I've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes, and I think you've had enough. So I'm going to let it go. There is other stuff, but that's for another time. And that's all I have to say about that. So do check out the Buy Me a Coffee page for the links to all the other stuff I work on. The links are in the links section of this audio program, wherever you found it. buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo if you don't have that link handy. And of course, if you found this on Ko-fi.com, you already know where that is, but it is also available through the usual places. If you go to the buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo profile page, you will find links to the Spotify for Creators page for all the programs I do, each of them. So they have links there that I provided to the Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify for Creators is automatically linked, the YouTube link, the primary point of publication, homepage for each episode, etc., etc. So you can find anything else you want from everything I'm working on if you start at buymeacoffee.com/DanHugo and go from there. You don't have to spend any money. And on that note, take care. Bye-bye.